Good evening. It is Thursday, January 5th. Happy New Year. 2023 at 6 o'clock p.m. We are at the District Service Center in Cottage Grove, Minnesota. We would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the land of the Minnewacan Dakota people. Minnewacan means dwellers of the Spirit Lake. Our first item on the agenda is a roll call. Dana?
Melinda Doles. Patrick Scholes absent. Louise Hines. Simi Petnaik. Katie Schwartz. Eric Tessmer. Sharon Van Leer.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have 3.0, and that is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Eric and second by Simi. All those in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carried. The next item on our agenda is 4.0, and that is the election of officers. At this time, we will elect the school board officers for the 2023 school year, starting with nominations from each seat: chair, vice chair, clerk, and treasurer.
I'd like to make a motion proposing a slate of officers. Sharon Van Leer as chair, Simi Petnaik, vice chair, Katie Schwartz as clerk, and Melinda Doles as treasurer.
Is there any discussion?
We need a second, I think.
Oh.
I'll second.
Thank you, Katie. Is there a second, Katie? Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, it has been moved by Louise. Is there a second by Katie? Okay. The chair is Sharon Van Leer, vice chair Simi Petnaik, clerk Katie Schwartz, and treasurer Melinda Doles. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried. Thank you all. Next is our organizational item for the 2023 school year. Can I get a motion to approve the organizational items? Moved by Louise and seconded by Simi. Repeat it. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the? Okay. All those in favor? I've lost my place. All opposed? Okay. Motion carried. Okay. Next is 6.0, our future meeting dates. We will adjourn this business meeting and start the workshop meeting immediately. Then we will have a business meeting on January 19th, 2023 at 6 o'clock p.m. and a workshop meeting on February 2nd at 6 o'clock p.m. All of these meetings will be held at the District Service Center. At this time, we will adjourn. That was fast. Y'all got me going. All right. Moving on, we will begin the workshop meeting. It is Thursday, January, and we have to do the whole process all over again. So here we go. It is Thursday, January 5th, 2023. We are at the District Service Center in Cottage Grove, Minnesota. We'd like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the land of the Minnewacan Dakota people. Minnewacan means dwellers of the Spirit Lake. Our first item on the agenda is 1.0, and that is our roll call. Dana.
Melinda Doles. Patrick Scholes absent. Louise Hines. Simi Petnaik. Katie Schwartz. Eric Tessmer. Here. Sharon Van Leer.
Here. Next, yeah, we got to do the Pledge of Allegiance again. Here we go. Please rise. You'll know it if you didn't know it now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. It's all right. Okay. Next is 3.0. Can I get approval for the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Katie, second by Eric. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have 4.0 workshop items. 4.1 is our school showcase of SoWashCo Online and South Washington Alternative High School. and that will be presented by our Assistant Superintendent, Christine Schaefer.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce tonight Ashley Ruka, Principal of South Washington Alternative High School, and Nick Faldy, Principal of SoWashCo Online. They are here tonight to share some highlights from each of their schools with you. So Ashley, I think you're getting us started.
Yes, thank you, Christine, and good evening, school board members and members of the executive cabinet. Thank you for having us here this evening. I am here to share with you a little bit more about South Wash Alternative High School and some highlights and focuses for our work this school year for the 2022-2023 period of time. Clicker. Do you want to do that for me?
Talking and clicking is hard.
You can maybe go to the next one. Thank you. It is difficult. Okay, first let me refamiliarize you with our building. We currently, as of right before winter break, have 123 students enrolled. We are coming up on the end of our term 3 and the beginning of our term 4, and we expect some new additions to our student population at that time, as we do every term. We also have 21 staff members in our building on any given day who are supporting our students, not only with their academic goals, but also their work and growth as young adults and human beings. What makes our school special is all of these people that fill it up. Students that deserve to be seen and heard, who have opinions and contributions, skills and talents, and who want to achieve. And we also have a staff that's dedicated to those students who are caring for each person individually and willing to go above and beyond. And when I say above and beyond, I mean really above and beyond if it means helping a student succeed. I'm grateful to be a part of their work. We are doing some things alternatively, such is our goal to provide students with a daily experience that is unlike what they experience in some of our large high schools. We do this in a variety of ways and continue to explore what else we can do in alternate fashion that would support our students in their successes. And a couple of those examples are up on the screen, including alternative grading periods and graded reporting, as well as a schedule that allows for some acceleration in course completion and credit recovery. We also, through our partnership with Fairview Alternative High School out in Roseville Public Schools, our partnership with them and our work this fall has sparked some really fun discussion about how we can alternatively teach the required state standards through untraditional coursework. We are feeling inspired by the work of our colleagues across the city, and we're continuing to explore this. It has challenged my staff to think in some different ways and to stretch what they know to be best practice and how they're used to doing the work that they do. And we are continuing to explore those opportunities and what that could mean for us as we move forward. We're looking to pilot some of those new courses, maybe 1 or 2 next school year, and we are excited about what is possible for our students going forward. Might you click again? There it is. I put together a short video because I think it will provide you with a better example of the work that we're doing in the business we're conducting this school year, with our focus really being on the skills and talents that our students already have and helping them establish reasonable, realistic, academic and personal goals and charging forward one step at a time. All right, and we'll pass the mic over to my colleague.
Board members, executive cabinet, thank you for having myself as well as the SoWashCo online community with you tonight. The next slide, it's going to be similar music that you heard from the last one, not planned as the video that was created by our leadership team was for our orientation during trimester 1. So just as an FYI for you, but I wanted to start out with our belief statement. SoWashCo Online is a school built to meet the needs of students, providing flexibility and innovation within a safe and supportive learning space. And then, since I couldn't bring my entire staff with me, I brought them with me in a different way. So we're going to watch a quick video of them introducing themselves. And this was in our orientation for Tri 1 students as well as Tri 2.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
你好. Bonjour.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Bienvenidos.
So that was some of our 30 staff members, 7 being full-time. Today I'm going to walk you through a couple of the things that we've done throughout first trimester, some of the things we're planning on doing throughout the month of January. One of the first things, and this was, I'm fortunate to have a really innovative leadership team who comes up with tremendously good ideas, and then they execute them really well. So trimester 1, it was their idea to come up with having department students of the trimester. The problem with that being that a lot of the folks that have multiple people in their department had their own folks they wanted to nominate. So that expanded out a little bit. We had a smaller group within that leadership team who coordinated the writing letters to various businesses in the community and to colleges to get some gift bag type items to give to these students. We got certificates for them. And then one of those folks on our leadership team, Ms. Mallory Martin, who's our instructional coach, actually went out to the schools to take pictures and hand deliver these to all of the students. So I wanted to just highlight those students tonight. Megan Howland from Woodbury High School, Ari Stoll from SoWashCo Online, Reese Getzlaw from Woodbury High School, Ivory White from Woodbury High School, Naomi Tekesti from Eastridge High School, Kirsten Skinner from Park High School, Samara Wilhelmi from SoWashCo Online, Angie Huang from Eastridge High School, Kylie Van Diest from Eastridge High School, Madeline Brandenburg from Eastridge High School, Anna Dedon from SoWashCo Online, Jack Schwiegert, and Logan Schwiegert from Park High School. And part of their gift bags was a little letter that their teachers who nominated them gave to them on why they were nominated in the first place. Another item that we did within our orientation was a SoWashCo Online bio card. When we started SoWashCo Online, we didn't have a whole lot of information on students who were taking the classes. So we really wanted to gather that information as soon as possible so we could adjust and adapt some of the things that we did. So one of the things that we did with this bio card during orientation is it asked 4 questions. What qualities do you look for in a teacher? What are you passionate about? What is one big question you have about this year? And what are your strengths and how can you utilize them to be successful? So we ended up having 249 respondents to this question during our orientation. And we broke it down into specific themes. And within those specific themes were how online school works, success in online school, post-high school success, and then workload-life balance. And some of the questions that students raised within these categories are success in online school. What will it take to get a good grade? Is it going to be hard? What are some ways to stay on track in an online class? For how online school works, will I ever get to meet the teacher in person? How will tests work, and how will it be different than previous years? For post-high school success, what will I do after high school, and which college will I attend? And workload-life balance, what is the workload? How will I balance my time, and will I be able to handle doing an AP class online? So with all those, our leadership team kind of dove through some of those data points and started coming up with ways that we could support students and covering some of these questions. So some of the things that we've done to meet those needs, having online conferences, a meet or greet with teacher class videos. So videos like you've just seen, we had all of our teachers create their own, just to give a more personal approach when students go into their classrooms. Attendance reflection questions that automate interventions to help with students when they're falling behind. So we made a change up to our attendance procedures this trimester based on getting feedback during Tri-1 from families and from our student council. One of our student council members, when we met with them, said, Mr. Foley, is really tough being a student who's taking lots of AP classes, brick and mortar classes as well as online classes. And trying to keep up and keep up with an 8% in any given week becomes difficult when you have a lot of classes that you're trying to go through. So we started talking about the idea of going back to a question. But we didn't just want a question. We wanted something that we could actually utilize data to support students in. So now we have a attendance question weekly in all of our students' classes that if they say I'm behind, it prompts them to answer a reason why. Did I struggle on the content? Did I just have an off week and I couldn't get to it? And within that question is where that teacher actually locates, all right, who do I need to reach out to this week? And then on some occasions it gets to me where I'm pulling different data than those teachers are to see, all right, who's really falling behind and who do I need to go out to the school if they're in one of our brick and mortar schools and connect with in person. So we have a couple different interventions like that we're doing on a fairly consistent basis. We also really look at how do we improve our practices. So in my staff newsletter, a couple of our instructional coach type teachers meet with other teachers within SoWashCo Online, and they pull out things that they're doing really well that we can try to expand out across the other 30 staff members. And we present that in our newsletter on a weekly basis. I mentioned Student of the Trimester Award. We have a full-time advisory for our full-time students run by our school counselor. And then we have a curriculum writing group, so staff members who are writing their own content, having a group to bounce ideas off of to see what would be best practice and what would work best. So one of the last questions is, what do I want most in a teacher? And I love seeing things like this because you can really pull out specific things that you would really want to hit on. The biggest ones that we got were understanding, being helpful, caring, patient, and kind. And just myself reflecting on teachers that I had in the past, if I had a teacher that had those attributes, they were going to be a great teacher for me. They're understanding and willing to work with you. And I would say we have lots of teachers who fit that mold. If I ask one of our social studies teachers, hey, can you work with a student that's really struggling on this? Yeah, I got a bunch of time. I will go do that right now. Or let's figure out when you can meet with that student in person and then go into the school and do that. Finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about activities and events that we have coming up. So last year, right around this time, I was doing several SoWashCo Online virtual info sessions to talk about what this could be. We're going to be doing another one of those on January 9th. Myself and Ms. Aragoni, our school counselor, will be doing that. Later on that evening, a group of us, of our full-time staff, will be at all of the evening of opportunity nights at all the 3 brick and mortar high schools. I'll be at Woodbury High School, so if you want to come around and ask me questions, that's where I'll be. Our school counselor will be at Eastridge High School along with with another staff member, and then we have 3 other staff members who have connections to Park High School who are actually going to support us at Evening of Opportunity at Park High School. January 24th is our winter conferences. More information is coming out in our bi-weekly letter to families in the next week or so, and then our SoWashCo online community event, which is a multi-station event focused on STEM activities that will be more hands-on. So we're trying to tie in English, social studies, potentially some Spanish into STEM activities that we can have a more hands-on approach with some of our students and families. So that's open to the public, and it's at Central Park in the basement. Since Ms. Ruka did a lot of her updates around numbers and things like that, I wanted to share some of our numbers. Our enrollment update that I know Christine has shared with the board in the past, Try one, we had 1,366 students taking 1 or more online classes. That equated to 4,575 total courses leading into the school year. We had 33 full-time students and 977 part-time students. Try two, we're sitting at 1,436 students taking 1 or more classes. It equates to 4,722 courses that are registered for. We have 30 full-time students and 1,102 part-time students. So we saw pretty decent growth, 200 plus students going into trimester 2 that took our classes kind of up to the peak in a lot of our core areas. And we're excited about that growth. And it's a lot of data to connect with based on a lot of those students being newer. Some of the things that, when I'm reflecting on where we were and where we've been, think about what went better than expected. Our Try One grades, when we pulled those, initially we were at 7.6% of our students who were receiving a failing grade. After we went through the window of students who had incompletes, who could turn those failures potentially into passing grades, our passing rate was at 97.6% for Try One, which I give a lot of credit to our teachers wanting to work with students to make sure that they met the standards that they're being asked to meet, but also making sure that no one's really getting left behind. Some of the more difficult things that we've run into this year, and that we still run into, if I'm going to be honest, are just some of the technological logistics that you don't know about until you get in, and you're always promised certain things, but then when you sign on the dotted line, those don't always go the way you'd hoped. So some of those things, trying to connect multiple systems together that maybe weren't ever designed to be connected together in the first place. And an example of this is our attendance. Our attendance is based on an asynchronous model. So we give students 7 days to get through content for a week. Try two, we give students 7 days to go in, fill out an attendance question, or just do some work, and then we try to give them credit for that. The systems that are built for education right now are built for a brick and mortar type of model, where every day you're putting in an attendance, where we're looking at doing it across a 7-day period. So we take attendance once for a week, and then we try to get all of our teachers to flip their mindset, because we still have a lot of students who are, or a lot of staff who are part-time teachers in the brick and mortar buildings and are doing it one way, and then I'm asking them to do it a completely other way. So then when that kind of goes sideways and I find out about it on a Monday night real late, and I'm like, oh man, they didn't do it right, I gotta fix this. There's an occasion where I may have taken a day off on a Monday, or winter break comes around and I forgot, oh, I should probably check attendance on the Tuesday that I have to work, and then 3 teachers missed attendance the way we were supposed to do it. So those are things that we're continually working on and looking for ways to improve on. My hope is that we get better at it sooner than later, and I think we have. But as we take new part-time students in, or new part-time staff in, it's a learning curve for them as well that all of our staff who have been doing it all year don't necessarily have anymore. Some of the other technological issues that the tying together of systems for like a curriculum-based software, tying into Schoology, and then tying into Infinite Campus, and making it all work across that with none of them having any intention of working together at all. That has been probably the biggest hurdle, I would think, over the whole system that takes a lot of manual inputs in. And it's just part of the system until online gets maybe a bigger foothold in the market of education in general. And then the biggest things what we've learned, leaning into students, staff, families on a consistent basis. Because realistically, we're building something that hasn't been built before in South Washington County, but also looking around the state, we're different than a lot of the other online programs in general. We can go into the schools and meet with students, where a lot of those other online programs can't and don't. We're leaning in on a student council that we have a meeting next week to talk through some of the things of what's going well in Try-2, what's not going well for you, how do we improve some of that, and we're really using that feedback as well as course feedback that staff members have gotten from students, family emails and phone calls that I get, that our counselor gets, and that our staff gets, to bring all that information together to improve on what we currently see, but also future improvements. And then going out to students, like I said, if we see that students are struggling, we try to make it a point to go out and find them. Do they always like when one of us shows up at their building? No, because they don't come. Like, I'll send a pass and I'll wait and wait and wait and see the bell ring and then see the bell ring again and realize they're probably not coming. So we still are going to do that because that was kind of what we're built on. We want to reach our students even if they don't necessarily want to reach us at that given time. So I think I speak for our staff on that. We're going to try to continue to build this out so that we impact the students within our district walls because they have options elsewhere. And I think that just having this operate this year and seeing the numbers, it was a surprising number to me even. When I talk to other districts around who are running online programs, we're in a different spot than they are, just from a sheer volume standpoint. And when I ask them, are you doing some of the similar things that we're doing, they don't even think about doing that. Like they don't go out to the schools. They don't take the feedback as much as we do. I mean, it takes us time to change some things because it's some training and things like that, but our hope is to improve our practices so that we can impact kids and students in a more positive way, just in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick and Ashley. Are there questions?
Okay, is this on? Okay. So, well, Nick, I have 2 children taking a class, so I'm just very excited to hear about this. And you actually answered a couple of my questions about best practices and unanticipated issues. What kind of feedback are you hearing from the families of SoWashCo Online kids about how their kids' experience is going?
So it really depends. I think from what we've heard thus far is they appreciate the initial contacts from our staff to the families. One of our concerns that we have is if we're doing that too much. If you have a student who has 3 classes with us and they maybe aren't keeping pace and they're getting hit on a consistent basis from our staff, that's a lot of emails. So that was one of the reasons why in my bi-weekly updates, the reason why it's bi-weekly is because I know there's a lot of communication already going out. What I've been hearing from families is, oh, I love this teacher. They're awesome. I want to have her or him again. All right, well, they only teach that one class, or they only teach these 2 classes. So make sure you register for next year so that we can put them in more classes. So we're hearing, dependent upon the class, dependent upon the teacher, dependent upon the level of student too, we're hearing various things. There was a lot of concern around the attendance stuff initially during first try. Some now, but not as much as we had in the past. I think that a couple things helped out with that, the adjustment. We have a great administrative assistant for the time being who has helped support some of that role so that we can expand our footprint out into the schools. So I'm doing less attendance and some of those things and fielding those calls, because if you were calling before, you're getting me. But now you're getting her, and now we can do some more of the data digging to really highlight those students. Some of the things I heard from students who were struggling were, I just didn't know how long it was going to take. I just have to set time aside. It's hard when no one gets on me to do it. So I said, well, that's why I'm here, because I'll be back next week if you don't do it, because I'm going to look again. So, I mean, some of those things are what we're hearing. Some students really like certain aspects. Some students really don't like certain aspects. And that's the thing that we're internally battling with too, because we pay for a canned curriculum right now for some of our classes, and some students really like that. But some students really like the SoWashCo teacher-created content too, because it seems more personalized to them. So we're working back and forth to try to give a little bit for all students, and then highlight the ones where, because we do have faults in some places too, and I'm trying to work on those to improve the outcomes there as well. But it's a team approach. It's not a me approach. Like I'll say it first. Like my team is awesome. Like the amount of innovation that they come up with, they're like, let's try doing this. I don't think that's going to work. Well, let's just try it and see if it works. And then it does, and we're like, oh man, let's keep doing that. So I'm excited for that. I'm working on a survey with Dr. Mao Jacobson to send out to families too who are currently in classes, as well as I think we might be sending it out to try one families too, just to get some additional feedback to continue to improve what we're doing.
In terms of kind of what your enrollment looks like, so I know the high schoolers are going to start doing registration, thank you, registration within the next couple of weeks. And I know that you've added a lot of classes. Did the classes that you added, are they based on what you've been hearing from students, or are they like the next logical step in the curriculum, or how did you choose those?
Yeah, a little bit of both. So we do have a, within our course addition process, teachers can apply to add classes in, and then it goes before administrative group to just kind of vet it across the rubric. And a couple of those classes that we have on the course guide are like that. Some of our full-time staff are like, this would be a great class to teach. Could we do it online? Maybe. If students sign up for it, we potentially could. So I really encouraged our staff members to go through that process. If they thought there was a class that would work really well online and they're willing to develop it, let's try to do that. There's a lot of classes though that we added in that either weren't offered across the district that might be of interest based on student feedback. So we have I believe an AP Environmental Science that we're offering, and an AP Computer Science A that we're offering that was all based on feedback that teacher got from students in their classes. So the ask was, could we put it on the course guide? And I said, well, let's go through the process and see if we can, and then we'll see what happens. That doesn't mean it's going to run. It just means it's an opportunity for students to show interest, and then we potentially could have it run next year.
And then, oh, sorry, my last question was around kids coming from other districts. Do you know offhand how many non-SoWashCo students are at the high school?
Yep. So we only have 2 as of right now. We have 1 full-time student and 1 part-time student. And I look at that for a couple different reasons on why the number is as low as it is. I think we're working through some of the processes to bring students in, and how do we make that as efficient and as effective for students as possible. The MDE has, for their online forms that they have students fill out, it's a very lengthy form to become a part-time student in any certified online program. We're taking a look at how do we encapsulate that to make it easier for a student from outside the district to complete that in more of a digital, quicker format, so we could get them enrolled and in sooner than later. Full-time students, it's a similar process to any coming externally. They come into student information, apply, say I want to go full-time online. We review to see if we have any space in our classes, and then we okay it that way. We got to a point midway through try one where we ended up not being able to say that students could come in full-time because we just didn't have space. We were ending up creating some classes where we were actually using other online providers to fill out a student's course load, just because we didn't have the space based off of the requests we had the previous year. So knowing that, we're looking at all avenues as far as how we do enrollment moving forward too, so that we can bring in some external folks, especially on a supplemental basis. Like if we can fill out some of more of our AP classes that we have a segment of students in, but not a lot of students in, that makes a ton of sense in my mind. But a lot of our core content classes, a lot of those are already full, so we just don't have space to add anybody, even if they would come in this year. But for next year, hope is that we will have some space. Yeah, we ended up actually running into this situation probably the tail end of our enrollment period of try one. So a lot of our core content classes that those students might have needed filled up really quick. We got additional FTE allotted from executive cabinet right around that time. So we were able to pull some of those core content classes out so we could fill those up, and we filled up a lot of those classes really quick. So we added a section of U.S. History A, B, and C, and that filled up to almost 40 right away. Econ, political science, we added that in, and then Phi-Ed, and we added that in, and those all filled up across the school year now. So when we're looking at how we do this next year is we take a look at our data that we had this year and see some of the similarity and trends of students coming in and what they needed, and expanding out where we maybe allocated FTE that we might not allocate FTE to next year, just because of how much did that grow? Did it grow at all? Did it actually reduce a bunch across the year? And if that's the case, do we offer that at a lower number, or do we just say, you know, we're not going to offer that online this year, we're going to offer this econ class instead, because we know that we have more students who are taking that as a one-off as opposed to and it fits into potentially a full-time 11th or 12th grader schedule a little bit easier.
I'm assuming that the full-time students get on the courses.
Yep, and we keep a waiting list too, just in case we get additional FTE allocated. I looked at our waiting list today. We actually went through our numbers. I think our highest number is right around 14 or 15 and 1, but a lot of them are sitting at 1 or 2. So with that fluctuation, we may see going into try 3 that we can fit a student into those classes, and if they still want to. And sometimes they might not want to at that point, and it just stays open.
So I just thought of something based on what you just said. So for students who commit to a full year class, like an English class or social studies or something that runs 3 trimesters, if the enrollment falls during the year, we still keep the class going for the students who are there. But and so for the following year, we would look at maybe adjusting that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Similar to what our brick and mortar schools do as far as how they run their trend data, we do the same thing. It's more complicated when we were going into this year because we didn't have any data to support that besides what we had going outside of the district. But our numbers were, the requests that we got right around this time last year are somewhat reflective to what we have currently. I would say we're actually probably 200-ish students over who are taking one or more classes than what we projected at when we started the school year back in, or when we started back in January when we were pulling that data. So we are a little bit above what we initially thought, but we're still in the ballpark. It's not, we didn't project out we're gonna only have 200 kids and now we have like 1,400 kids going in. It's more, we're right around that ballpark anyway. It's just really looking at the classes that we're taking this year and then listening to student feedback to say, well, what would you want to take next year as well? And then really looking at the requests that we get. And that's what we've been telling all of our students too. If you're interested in a class, do the request, because that guarantees us more FTE allocated in that area, and then we'll work with you to try to get you that class.
Do kids go back and forth between online and their home high school? Like, meaning like if they're taking an English class, like 2 trimesters there in one school and 1 trimester there in the other school?
Yeah, well, some of the things that we've been seeing are around students taking PSEO. So they might take a PSEO, try 1, and then take an online class, try 2, and try 3 to fill in those gaps for those areas. We've also seen students who have been try 1, they didn't do so hot, and their parents are like, I don't want them to take any online classes. They're out. All right, that makes sense. But we also have seen students who are like, I really like that one class. Can I take another one? Can I take 2 more? And I think what I was telling Christine probably a month ago, just our try 1 numbers alone, we were sitting at like, I say 3-to-1 ratio of adds to drops. So we had a pretty significant amount of students wanting to add in and a lot less wanting to drop out, which I felt good about, knowing that, but also knowing that we got to figure out why those students are dropping too and what the reasonings are there. We know some of them, we just don't know all of them.
No, okay. Anyone else? Well, that was amazing. We're preparing our students because if most universities and colleges are going to the hybrid model. And we're preparing our students to manage their times, balance their schedules, and for students who are not privy to that, it takes them a whole semester. I know, I'm in law school and I watch them, and I tell you, it's going to be a new trend, a new day for our students going into this educational system. So thank you so much, Nick and Ashley, and Christine. Come back again, keep us updated. Next is 4.2, Board Committee and School Assignments. In the past, we have designated school and committees to the school board members to be represented. And on January 22nd, the board had a discussion about continuing with school assignments. It is now time to renew and review and discuss those assignments for 2023. We will have a discussion tonight and we'll vote on the topic at our January 19th business meeting. Our role as school board members is governance. Therefore, I am suggesting that we are not assigned as representatives to individual schools and are only designated representatives on committees. On this topic, I'd like to hear from each one of you your thoughts, concerns. I don't care who goes first now, y'all. So go ahead. Katie?
Sure, why not? Well, I brought this up that I didn't think we should have school assignments. I think we've heard from legal as well as our consultant that said that really it's not the board's role to go into the schools. The real purpose behind having the school assignments used to be to go to like a PTA meeting, PTO meeting, and listen to what parents were saying, and also to come to these board meetings and report in that, reports and comments, things that were coming up at the schools that the board or community might be interested in. It's kind of changed into more of a management role that, and that really isn't the point. And I think that all board members should be able to go to a PTO meeting, a PTA meeting, if their child's at that school, and not worry that another or multiple board members might be there or something like that. And just really go back to our role of governance and step outside of those schools and go for the plays if we want to go, and be welcome and really feel like we could go into any school for those events and not maybe feel like, I know some people feel like they're stepping on toes, or I know I've had a teacher reach out to me about a question. They're like, oh, am I stepping on the other board member's toes because I'm coming to you because I know you? And I want to really kind of take that away, that it doesn't feel like we're stepping on somebody else's toes if we go to an event, a Raider rally, or some of the other things. I only know Raider rally because my kid's at home, and sorry. Or go to a different event at a school just because it's a different board member's assigned school.
Okay, thanks, Katie. Eric? And you're a newbie, so go ahead.
No, I agree with what Katie says. I know that legal.
Eric, you gotta use your mic. Okay, sorry. Sorry.
How's that?
Don't push the button down.
Don't push.
Nope. So wait until it turns green on the top there. There'll be a light. Once it's green, you can just talk.
What does it do if it's
They're gonna take someone else's.
Yeah, I agree with what Katie said for the most part. I think legal made it pretty clear to us that it isn't necessarily a part of best practices to be assigned to schools. I think that it only works in this particular district just based on the numbers of schools that we have and the numbers of board members. So it doesn't work in a lot of other districts, so they don't do it. I think it's a problem when you start assigning board members to the schools. There's an appearance that the board member is then an advocate for that school, which is incorrect in my opinion. So, I guess to end it, I would be opposed to assigning board members to schools.
Thank you, Eric. Linda?
Okay. I don't have a strong feeling either way or the other. I think that if legal is down on it, then I understand why. But like Eric said, we do have a very large district, being the sixth largest district in Minnesota. I think it's helpful to some degree. I don't think it should be a managerial type of thing. The way I've gone about the school assignments has been more, just kind of introducing myself via email or a phone call, and if there's significant events that you want me to present at a board meeting so people will know about them, or some type of event that you want a board to be there at. I don't think it should be something where, if we do keep it, I don't think it should be something where people feel that they can only go to their school events or where it's any type of managerial thing. But I don't feel strongly either way. So
Thank you, Melinda. Louise?
I don't have a real need to be assigned to a school. But what I do think is important, in the same way that we need to be seen in the community, that we need to be seen in the schools. And so my only concern is that if you're heading out to see your kids and you're heading out to see your kids, who's making a presence at the schools where we don't have children? And so that kind of thing, so that schools don't feel ignored.
Simi?
And so as a corollary to what Louise said, I don't actually really care one way or the other, but as a corollary to what Louise said, I agree with her that it's important that we're out in the schools. And I think what would be helpful and maybe this is like a bridge too far, I don't know, is to have some sort of mechanism, like whatever, like a Sign Up Genius or whatever, where we can be, okay, such and such elementary school is having a fun run and they want a board member there to like hold the tape at the end, or whatever it is, right? And so, but have people have an opportunity to sign up, that, or at least so we all know, hey, this is coming up this week. These are, because right now we know about the plays and the, musical performances, yeah, at the high schools. But, there are, 3 high schools plus the alternative high school. There's not, no one really knows about the events at the elementary or middle schools except for the board members who are currently assigned to those schools. And so, but I know that one of the things that I've always really liked was going to, the 5th grade poetry reading or whatever, where they wanted, a board member there or whatever. And so I think it would be one of the downsides of not having school assignments, or maybe it's a totally mitigatable downside though, is being able to have some sort of mechanism for connection with the schools. And the only reason I suggest like a Sign Up Genius or something like that is so that we don't accidentally get 4 board members showing up at a Raider rally or whatever. But I think it's important that we are present, and not only that, adults in the community know who we are and what we do, but that children in the community know who we are and what we do, and that children have enough interaction with board members that they can offer up their feedback to board members.
Okay, thanks, Simi. Pat?
Is this on? Yeah. It's been on the whole time. Anyway, I don't care about being assigned to a building, but I do wonder, why is there a rule that we can't, say there's a play, we can't all go to the play?
We can go to public events. So even like if it was a Raider rally, all of us could show up as a Raider rally. It's in our best interest not to all sit together at the Raider rally, but yes, all board members can be at all events as long as it is a public event. We don't discuss anything that we will be voting on. And again, if, like we did at some of the referendum things, we'd have 3 people sit, 2 and 2, where there's not any 4 people, especially when it's going to be something like that where a vote will be coming. It's best not to all sit together. But yes, we can all go to a play together. We can all do all of those things as long as it's a public event and we don't discuss anything.
And I think that's what we should focus on then, is the public events, and leave the other alone. Because if we start making lists of, somebody's got to manage that, that's a bigger job than what we were doing before. So I think that's open up a box of,
I agree. I did want to add, though, I do like it when schools invite us to things, like when we get an email where we all get it and where we're invited to things. Like, I loved it when I first started as a board and we were invited to do like guest reader type of thing, and I know there hasn't been anything like that recently, but something where we're invited in rather than us saying, hey, we're going to come here, because I want them to want us to be there. I don't want to just show up and feel managerial.
And Melinda, I think that's an opportunity that Kelly, Christine, and Tyrone, as representatives of elementary, middle, and high school, can share with our school leaders to say, if you have opportunities, let's be sure that we do that via an invite to the board members. I just want to reassure the board that as you think about the decision of keeping school assignments or not, that the executive cabinet members that sit around this table are out in our schools often. And so I understand the need and the want to make sure as board members, but it is extremely important for me and for us that we are also visible in the schools. And many of us, every single day, we're out in a school. Abby might be there for an investigation and may walk the hallways or do something else. I started my day at Park High School. So it's really a combined effort together that we make sure that our staff within our schools know that we're present and that we care.
And I think that the leadership in the schools know who the board members are. I know at Park that Todd every year invites me to come and speak to a group of students. And so, maybe that's something that each one of us could take part in if we, the assistant superintendent say, hey, you're having this event, why don't you invite this board member to come in and speak or to be present or something like that. And the other thing is that maybe what we could do is have a semester calendar, and we know the events that are happening, and then we choose to go to those, whether it be concerts, plays. I think Simi, Melinda, some of us went to a play, and Did we sit together? Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, a few of us did. And so, I mean, and there was no discussion about board or nothing. We were there as spectators and then the Tri-City concert that they have at different schools. So, I mean, there are opportunities for us to be in the community and be visible. So, with that said, is there any other comments or discussion? Okay, we'll
Just-
bring, go ahead.
You asked for other comments, and then you start talking.
I was trying to hurry up, baby.
Yes, actually, Sharon, I do have a comment. Again, we can utilize, also Julie sends us an update weekly. So having, the next week's events, because let's face it, we're all busy, and if somebody sends me something for 3 months, if something is 3 months from now that I really want to go to, I will not remember in 3 months. So having, Julie's updates, at the end, she already does put something in there that states, what events are coming up, and just kind of, letting us know when things are and what they are, and maybe expand some. I know most of them are high school, but I mean, I know some of the principals from the elementaries that have come have said they do certain things on, like a Thursday morning, they'll have like this event, and if you guys want to come. So even if we could start including some of those things in an elementary school, and then those of us that can attend, and even, giving Julie a heads up, hey, let this principal know that we will be, so that the office knows, because, they don't always like.
I think of events, you're right, middle and high school tend to warrant themselves more to the plays and activities, whereas elementary, you may have I Love to Read Month, you may have Jump Rope for Heart, where we just need to make sure that we have an invitation to board members to be able to be in the school, and usually have a role in helping and actually working and being with the kids. And that's certainly something that we can work through.
Have you ever shown up for them? I don't think I've ever.
No, when I was a first brand new board member, I went to talk to each of the,
I only know about events when I am invited. Like I don't keep track of like whatever elementary school calendar.
But if we got a calendar just signed up for things, they might not want us.
I guess I was assuming that they would be the ones populating, saying this is what I want people at, right?
hey, I look at Facebook, and anytime they have a food truck event, I'm at every single. I love food trucks, so when I see, I'm on Facebook for most of it, and I'm like, oh, they're having a food truck, I'm showing up. I don't tell anybody I'm there, I just, go and
You don't
enjoy
announce
the
that
food
you're a
truck.
board member when you're eating 3 tacos?
Yeah.
Bob, more food trucks. Okay, all right, that's enough of that topic. Are you done, girl? Okay. Okay, all right, moving along. 5.0 is information items.
Excuse me, Sharon, did you want to talk about board committees? Do you want to talk about the specific committees, or no?
Specific committees.
That's on the next page.
No,
part of
no,
this.
do we
is it
want to
part of
do board committees, or do we want to do them how we've done them in the past, where we just rank 1 through 3? Because Dana has the list right there that we can all look at them and discuss what we want, or she can send it like she always does, and we can respond and say we want 1, 2, or 3.
Okay, here, already got it. Let's move it, come on over here, girl. All right, so,
That's board member report.
oh, yeah, but that's the
it's-
committees that they're on.
I would say that I would say they send it out.
Yeah, you want to send it out and then,
Let people think about it.
right, all except for 916, that's a 2-year commitment, so
Yeah.
Melinda will stay on that. But the rest of them, if you want, then you choose and then we'll go through them and that'll be that.
Yep,
Go
I'll
ahead.
send an email out to everyone and asking you to choose your first choice, second choice, and third choice.
Yes.
And I will, before you leave tonight, I will hand out the committee so you can take a look at them with times and dates and how they.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Can we make sure we have the times and the dates?
You got it, girl. Okay.
And we might be arm wrestling you for Citizens Finance Advisory Committee.
I want that one.
And so with that, so with that being said, then when it comes time in the workshop meetings for reports, you will report on your committee work. Okay, so that's clear. So, yep, Simi, nobody's going to take it away from you. Arm wrestle. All right.
We will have this on the agenda at the next meeting to approve the committees.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. 5.1, it's the first reading of our proposed policy changes, and that will be presented tonight by our superintendent, fabulous superintendent, Julie Nixon.
Thank you. And thank you to our Policy Review Committee. That really is a committee that is strong and steady, and we just continue to chip away at policies and making sure that we're reviewing them. And I think that each time we review policies, because they're more on a more consistent cycle, we continue to revise and make great modifications and adjustments, making sure that our policy language is as clean as possible. Policy 208, Development, Adoption, and Implementation of Policies. It actually addresses policies. In that, you'll see the markups. There are some yellow pieces of highlights that will be removed. Basically, when we talk about the implementation of the policy, we really want to get at that part of the policy is keeping the language clean, and we've worked hard on pulling out the portions that are the procedures. So that letter 5, Roman numeral 5, implementation of policies, it really gets at making that adjustment that we're looking at procedures, but also how school board policies are currently posted and all stored online. Back when I started, every school received a policy manual and everything was paper. We're now at a point with technology that we don't need to be running copies for every school and every building of policies. So you'll see that reflected in letter D. Letter E of the policy, you will see that there are a lot of strike-throughs on various policies, 410, 414, 415, as annual review policies. Typically, it's about this time of the year, actually next month, that we will do some of the annual reviews. According to MSBA, these policies now that have the strike-through are not required to be updated annually. We will continue to do any policy that we utilize a lot throughout the district, or the 2 or 3 that are still required by MSBA. The one policy I know that is not required every year is the bullying policy. I believe that's one of them. But we still believe that it's important that that language get in front of the school board. So that would be one that, even though it's not an annual review, we would keep that on our list for an annual review. So you will see that those 400 and 500 series policy, and I believe 600 series policy, have a strike through. So that reflects the changes for policy 208. Policy 210, conflict of interest, school board members, there were no proposed changes. Criminal or civil action against board members, no proposed changes. School board member development, no proposed changes to that policy. School board committees, you will see policy 213. There is an updated list, and I believe Dana's list that she'll be sending out is reflective of those various district committees. Dana, is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. So in 213, you will see the list of internal district committees that will go out to each of you to be prioritized in terms of representing and being on those committees. Policy 214, out-of-state travel by school board members. It is a policy, even though we know that there are just very rare times that a school board member may travel out of state. And for that policy, no proposed changes. School board memberships, no proposed changes to that one. The next 2 are put on because we really believe that those needed to be looked at now. You'll see that they fall in the 600 series, which you can see we've done all 200 series. Policy 610 looks at field trips. And I want to grab that policy just so I can have it in front of me. Policy 610 outlines what we consider to be instructional trips, and we've cleaned that up in terms of student access to field trips, as well as supplementary field trips, which are not for credit. But the one area that we needed to take a closer look at and worked with legal was around non-school sponsored trips. And right above the portion about non-school sponsored trips, many of you are aware that our middle level do trips to DC. There are trips to Spain in the summer. And so we needed to make sure that we included in there non-school sponsored trips. Right above Roman numeral 4, you'll see this policy is in effect for field trips beginning July 1 of 2023. And I believe we have a DC trip scheduled yet this year. That will continue as is because field trips are approved so far in advance. So when we think about those non-school sponsored trips, we are thinking about those that would be approved beginning July 1st, 2023.
I had a question on this one, Julie. In
Yep.
the regulation section, Part E, it talks about chaperones,
Yep.
and the principals in each school would determine how many chaperones. And I'm just thinking that might be something we want standard across the district.
And thank you, Louise. Louise and I had a conversation about that earlier today, just about, what does that look like for South Washington County schools? Our safety specialist, Napoleon Generos, said that he had taken a look at Minneapolis and St. Paul, and they have some guidelines around students depending on the activity. And then he also shared that information has been passed along to our assistant superintendents. And so I would anticipate in the next month or so that we will have some kind of guidelines when it comes to taking field trips. So again, that would be part of the procedure that would go out to schools when implementing or taking a field trip. Here are the expectations around the number of students to staff ratio.
Thank you.
So thank you for bringing that up. And then you'll see the second to the end paragraph, it talks about a non-school sponsored trip notification verification. And just know that would be a form then that our staff member would be completing and signing. The final one, policy 613, graduation requirements. There are no changes to the graduation requirements, and Christine can certainly answer all the detailed questions. But what we tried to do is to make sure that the language in the policy accurately reflected what the expectations were. And so there was some confusion about how the wording was. So you'll see it's considered to be minor grammatical changes. So credit means a student's successful completion of one trimester of study instead of an academic year of study. So we were cleaning it up so that when people looked at the policy, they could clearly see what our grad requirements were. Along with that, you'll just see some clarification where Roman numeral 6, we have 12 trimester credits. It says 4 years of credits, 12 trimester credits. We're just cleaning that up a little bit and removing some of that. So hopefully when someone from another district or when parents or families are looking at our website and they look at what our graduation requirements are, they can very, very clearly see in Roman numeral 6 what those requirements are. With that, I know we have 3 members of the board who are on the policy committee. Are there any questions for any one of us?
Okay, thank you, Julie.
I think we have public comment. If there's anybody, Dana, was there anybody for public comment?
Okay. Next is 6.0, and that's reports and comments, and that will be given by Julie Nielsen.
As superintendent of schools, there are a lot of big, important things that I do. One of them that I don't care to do is the snow. Here's why. It usually starts at about 3:15 or 4 o'clock. Actually, last night it was still going on at 10:30, quarter to 11, wasn't it, Sean? And I just want you to know that Sean may be new, but he is good. And the next day, he did not come back to me and say, I told you so. Because I woke up yesterday thinking, it's a great day, up at 4 o'clock, I'm driving. All of a sudden, I get the call from Carrie Olson, Transportation Director. She's like, what do you think? And I said, I'm thinking it looks good. I'm driving along 45. I cross over to Minnesota. I am all the way down to 22 or 25 miles per hour, and it is snowing so hard, and I thought, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Well, Sean kind of warned us the night before, but Dan and I, we were like, no, this is good, even though Dan watches minute by minute. So we are in the midst of what I think has been predicted to be a really, really rough winter with a lot of snow. I want the board to know, and anybody watching, people in the audience, that there are really a lot of factors that go into making that decision. Not only is there communication with our team of internal people, and I'll call them experts when we're thinking about our transportation department, but we have webinars sometimes at 3:30 in the morning, sometimes at 4 o'clock in the morning with the National Weather Service. Our National Weather Service in Chanhassen, they work with the National Weather Service in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And so we are inundated with the best information. And I think what we've learned is that even the best information and the best predictions can't tell us where the rain or the snow or the sleet is going to fall. And so we really base it off of that. We also take a look at the time. What time is it supposed to snow the heaviest? Typically, we are not a district that does late starts or early releases. At the end of the day, we really work to make sure that our kids are home before it gets dark. And so that has meant that our first tier of transportation, they're on the school buses right at dismissal time. I do want the board to know, in the community, I am not opposed, our transportation department is not opposed to late starts, as long as it means the safety of kids and making sure that our buses can get through the streets. But we would anticipate moving forward that any additional snow days would be considered e-learning days. And so we already put out in Family News tonight about e-learning days. And moving forward, we would continue with that message both to our staff as well as our parents and our students. And I do want to say thank you to Dan. One morning, Dan was getting a little extra beauty sleep, and he wasn't quite up as early as the rest of us, so I think I called him and said, hey, you're getting too much beauty sleep, but it's Dan, it's Carrie, it's Sean, it's myself, and really, as you look around the table, all of our executive cabinet members are involved in some way at some point. Our assistant superintendents, because they're monitoring the schools. Bob has community ed. Abby has all the people who are calling, wondering what do they do on a snow day. Anna has special education, and the unique thing about special education that we have to remember is that we contract with Hastings Bus Company. And so on this particular day yesterday, Hastings Bus Company closed. As I'm driving, like, we're going for it. South Washington County Schools is going to be open. And then I get the message, well, Hastings is closed. And I'm thinking, now what? And so we just have to remember that we work in partnership also with the communities around us, in particular when we talk about contracted busing. Next item, our survey results with the Leatherman Company are complete. So the phone calls have all been made. I don't know if people around the table or people in the audience have gotten calls, but those results are done. Our leadership team is going to meet with Peter to just talk about putting that presentation to the board. So we are still on track for February 2nd to report that information back. And I know Dan spoke with the demographer, Hazel Reinhardt, and we believe also that she is on track. So we are hoping that February 2nd meeting, it may be a longer meeting because we know that those two important items have to come forward. We continue to work on our transportation, and I try to shout it from the rooftop that we are still struggling with finding bus drivers. It doesn't impact everyone. We have 5 to 6 routes, I believe, right now that are canceled, but we are looking at other potential options of increasing distance, of looking at hazards and how we bus. In order to get any significant savings out of our transportation, we need to take a look at some of those hazards and move those to areas where parents would begin transporting. Let's use an example, a neighborhood close to Cottage Grove Elementary School where the speed might be 50, but the houses are right across the street. Those may become non-busing areas. So we're right now taking a look at the hazards because that's what does not allow us to push out to that mile for like elementary, 1.5 for middle school. So just know that we will be coming back to the board. We're still exploring costs and possible options with transportation. And then finally, the 23-24 calendar, we have a meeting next week where we are hoping to finalize that and get that to the board no later than the first meeting in March. If we can complete that work, we will try to get it again on February 2nd for a first read. What I found about our district calendar is it doesn't change significantly. I think we always step into our calendar with high hopes, but there are so many days that we need student contact days, so many days in between our trimesters. So just know that the calendar will be coming forth. We've gotten a whole array of feedback and input around 2 draft calendars, one that starts before Labor Day, one that starts after Labor Day. And I could go on there. Oh, I should say, I did meet a student at Park High School today, and he knew who I was, and he wanted to thank me for giving him his birthday off. His birthday was yesterday, and so he thought that was a really nice gift that I gave him. I would say his name. He was a darling 10th grader, but he came up to me, he thanked me. So there was one positive out of the snowstorm. So thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Next is board member reports. Is anybody dying to tell something?
I am, because this is really exciting, because, you know, I like government, and especially this year, it's going to be exciting for education. And the first meeting is tomorrow. It's an AMSD session. We'll have comments by Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan. There will also be some representatives there, none of them that we know, not from our area. And on the website, if you go to amsd.org, there are materials there that talk about what AMSD is focusing on, and that includes our districts. It's more like, I don't know how many metropolitan area districts that band together to lobby for things. And our lobbying, you can see in the governor's plan. It's all come to fruition. So it's going to be a great year for education as far as the money goes. So I encourage you to look at it and listen to their remarks because it's kind of fun if you have time. It starts at 8 o'clock and you can sign in for it. Yeah, Quora Education. But the parking's horrible. You have to walk and I don't.
Zoom is better.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Anyone else? Okay, I think there was something I was gonna say. You made me forget now. That's okay. Well, I just want to welcome you back and hope that everything goes well for you and Happy New Year. We missed you. All right. Since I can't think, I had a senior moment, we'll just go on to 7.0, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Our future meeting dates, our next meeting will be a business meeting on January 19th, 2023. And then we'll have a workshop meeting on February 2nd, 2023. And both of these meetings will be held here at the District Service Center at 6 o'clock. Next is 8.0, and that is the adjournment. And we are adjourned.